Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Brushes and Bunnies, and in this video I'm going to be kickstarting off my watercolor tutorial series with a video starting with my top 5 tips for beginners that want to get into watercolor painting. Okay, so before we jump into the watercolor tips, I of course want to announce the giveaway winner for my 50,000 subscriber giveaway that I did a couple weeks ago. To find out who won the giveaway, do go to my YouTube channel, my main page. There's a community tab right above. You click on this community tab and you will see my blog feed or whatever. I will announce the giveaway winner there right after this video is live, so you guys will see it there. Congratulations to the winner. If you guys did not win, I am so sorry. I can only give it away to one person, but I will be doing another giveaway at 75,000 subscribers and another one, hopefully with more participants at 100K. So when we get there, we will have more giveaways. And while you're here on my YouTube channel, I might as well just say it because that's what YouTubers do, right? Go ahead and click on the subscribe button to get more art videos, tutorials, live streams, and of course giveaways in the near future. Thank you guys so much for your support. So let's get back to the actual watercolor video. So tip number 1 is actually sketching your concept on paper before you proceed with the actual final painting. This is a step that I completely missed at the very beginning. I actually would just not even do it. I would go straight from the concept in my head straight onto the actual final paper. And actually this method is actually not that great unless you're like a super huge professional, like you just know what you're doing. If you're starting out, it's super useful if you start to do your sketches directly on a sketchbook. So concept wise, I did draw him as a sketch in my sketchbook and I did play around with the composition a little bit. You can do multiple sketches, you can do a final sketch, you can scan it, you can upload it onto your computer, and from your computer you can then bring it into Photoshop and then play around with the colors. You can create multiple different color palettes. There's all kinds of things you can do. And I think playing around with your sketch in Photoshop is really great. I tend to play around with the colors to see what color palette works best, and also maybe change up the composition a little bit in Photoshop. It's so much easier there. And once you're happy with the final result, you can then just either print it out or have it on your computer and then try to kind of recreate it with the watercolors. So tip number 2 is all about the paper. When you're going to start a watercolor painting, you of course want to select paper that's going to work really well for the painting or the technique that you're using. There's all kinds of papers out there. This is a huge topic all on its own. For this painting, I did paint on the Arches hot press satin paper. I really love the smooth finish of this paper and it holds the water really well, and I could use some really nice watercolor techniques on it. Some papers will, however, not allow you to use the same technique. I've noticed that for other watercolor brands, I tried to use the way that I paint on this paper and it just didn't really work well. The colors didn't really blend together as well as it would on the Arches, for example. So paper is a really big deal. It will completely change your composition or your painting depending on the technique that you use. So you really have to do a trial and error for this. Try out different papers, see what works best for you and your technique, and basically go from there. It's a lot of, it can be quite expensive actually, but there's all kinds of paper brands out there that you can really take a look at your local art store. So try different textures, try different, hot press, cold press, satin, or even like the harder textures. There's all kinds of things there for you. Okay, so tip number 3 is the way that you will organize your watercolors. I did not do this at the beginning and I do regret it because the way that I do it now is just so much easier. So if you have watercolors that are in little tubes like this is basically a tip for those. The other ones that come in the little pots, these ones are of course much easier to organize within your palette. You can just have them side by side. But if you have or buy these tubes, these are just like watercolor tubes where you squeeze them out and the paint comes out, you of course need to buy a palette for it. So I'm actually using one that's for acrylic or for oil paint, and I tend to just place all of my watercolors, I just take the tube out and I will align my colors according to what I want to use them for. Of course, I'm going to put together all of the colors that I use for the skin tones next to each other, and then if I'm doing a background work with some greens or some blues or some purples, I will then put these colors closely together. Why this is beneficial is because when you're mixing colors together, you don't have to, go all the way across the palette. You can just have them next to each other and you can easily mix your colors. This is quite essential, and for me it just makes mixing colors that much easier. You're going to see in the video of me just mixing the colors all together. It's just easier if you arrange them that way. Tip Tip number 4, this is about trying out your colors. So when you're mixing your colors on your palette, you're unsure, you're not really sure, I think the best thing to do is actually test your colors before. If you're new to mixing colors like I am, what I typically do is I will mix the colors and I will see, okay, maybe this color is okay. I will try it on a test paper before. Maybe the color is a little bit too vibrant, a little bit too orange, maybe it's missing a little bit of red inside of it. Testing your colors on paper is a really good technique before you apply it onto the actual paper. So I always have a test paper around and I will just go ahead and use this paper and just test all of the colors before I actually apply it on the finished product. This is a pretty good practice actually, and definitely something that I would recommend doing. Okay, so tip number 5 is something that you guys should all do, especially if you're working with watercolors, and that is to use paper towels in your just painting process. Paper towels are essential just because when you're painting, you gotta continuously dab your brush onto the paper towel. Maybe you have too much color, maybe you have too much water. This is basically a good way to, or a good tool to use especially when you're blending your colors together on the paper. Paper towels are a really good tool to use, especially when you're blending colors on your watercolor paper. You're creating a skin tone, you want to have a nice beautiful blend, but you have too much paint, too much water. It's all about the control of the water, and paper towels will help you control the watercolor in the way that you can just dab it or remove some water from your paintbrush. It's really key. It's really good to use, and I really cannot live without my paper towels with little pandas on them. We got pandas. I tend to buy ones that have like cute designs on it, like little pandas, little pandas. But you can get any paper towel, totally up to you guys. And that's basically all of my first beginner's tips. I wish I did these much earlier. Some of them I did, some of them I didn't, but I definitely learned throughout the years of doing watercolor painting. I hope that these tips help you as well. And if you guys have more watercolor tips for beginners, do let me know in the comments below. I could probably do a part 2 of the series. And yeah, I wish you guys all a wonderful day, and I hope you guys spend the Sunday covered in paint and drawing and having fun, and we will see each other next time. Bye!
You lose yourself when the wind flows through your hair. You taste freedom as you fill your lungs with air. The time has stopped, your mind has set sail. The road is home, the stars will light the trail. The stars will light the trail. I find myself here alone on this dusty road, waiting for a sign to point me home. I'll close my eyes and put my feet to the ground, 'cause when I'm lost I don't want to get found. You lose yourself when the wind flows through your hair. You taste freedom as you fill your lungs with air. The time has stopped, your mind has set sail. The road is home, the stars will light the trail. The stars will light the trail.